tMNT 2012. It's one of my favorite animated takes on the Ninja Turtles, and it's responsible for creating some of my favorite iterations of certain characters from the Turtles universe. One being the Shredder. The Shredder is one of the most iconic and fearsome villains in the world of animation, and his appearance in the 2012 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles animated series was no exception. With his imposing stature, lethal weapons, and mastery of the art of ninjutsu, yeah, the Shredder is a force to be reckoned with and a formidable opponent for our heroes in a half-shell. He's highly skilled in hand-to-hand combat, swordplay, and strategy. He wears a highly advanced suit of armor that is nearly indestructible and equipped with a variety of weapons. All of these attributes seem to be applied to pretty much every single iteration of the Shredder, except for 87. It was pretty goofy. I love 87 Shredder. That's no slander on his part. I love the dude. He's just goofy. But why is it that the 2012 iteration is so special? I'll tell you why. It's just how in-depth his story is and how he can scarily be kind of relatable sometimes. What does that say about me? That's kind of scary, huh? Now look, I can sing the praises of 2012 Shredder all day long, but I want to bring somebody else in. Somebody who's actually a bigger fan of 03 Shredder to discuss what makes 2012 Shredder so different, compare and contrast him to other versions of the character. So without further ado, here we go. Me and SM will be discussing everything about 2012 Shredder that comes to mind. Let me go ahead and bring him along for the ride. Wait, give me a moment. Here is the guest, Mr. SM. If you watched last week's video, I clowned him in that video, but here he is in this video.
It's just not because it's a good game.
Okay, we're not talking about that. What we are talking about is Shredder. Shredder, get me up, Marty. Pretty much. I have a list of things here. In today's video, I'm going over why I feel tMNT 2012 presented one of the most compelling iterations of Shredder. That's what today's video topic is about, and I wanted to have the conversation with you, someone who enjoys tMNT 2012 quite a bit, but you do prefer the 03 Shredder, right?
Yes.
Okay. Well, this is going to be a civil discussion. Please, in the comment section below, feel free to duke it out like us, but please be respectful like us. Because if you're not respectful, then you are a pee-pee poopy baby. SM, can you please co-sign on that statement?
Who needs a diaper and his bottle change? What's the matter? You gonna cry?
He's just a scared little baby. All right, well, from a place of, I guess, the beginnings of the character, what drives their motivations, how they got to the stature and the most imposing force that we see them by their peak in the series, more so of a focus on 2012, but we can use other Shredders to compare and contrast the characters. From your point of view, even though I know you prefer 03 Shredder, what would you say helped to build 2012 to make him a competent Shredder in your eyes that feeds positively into his character that makes you like him?
So to compare and contrast, here's how I feel about 2012 Shredder. I feel like that they took inspiration from both the 80s and 2003 to where Shredder is smart and he's also very strong at fighting, because for the 80s Shredder, I consider him the smartest Shredder in the whole entire branch of TMT universe. And for 2003, it introduced the whole side of Shredder that's supposed to be the whole fighting thing from the comics. So 2012 kind of brought both of those and meshed them well together. That's how I view 2012 Shredder, that if you mix in the 80s smartness with the strength and combat skills of 2003.
Agreed. I also feel like when it comes to a level on 2012, one thing that I always compare the two, right? There is this argument that's brought up which Shredder's the best one? And it's 03's Shredder cannot be defeated, whatever. That's one argument. But I've been seeing a swarm of people online bring up a statement of them feeling as though the deeper character goes to 03 Shredder, and I just don't see how that's the case. You preferring 03 Shredder, would you agree with that statement? Or for you, is it a case of I prefer 03 Shredder, but I can't agree with the fact that people are saying he's a more in-depth character than 2012? Where do you stand on that statement?
For me, I stand that even though I prefer 2003 Shredder, I don't think that he's in depth as in 2012 Shredder, because 2003 is more one-sided when it comes to Shredder's motives. Well, for Shredder 2012, he has that one motive, but he also has other things going for him as well.
Exactly. Thank you. See, this is how you have a conversation with other Turtles fans who are more leaning on a different iteration of the franchise, people at home. So if you like the 87 series and you're yelling at people that like 03, just talk it out. You don't have to punch and scream at each other. I'm looking at you 2012 fans dogging the Rise fans. Let's be chill about it. Let's be civil like this, a one-on-one. It doesn't have to be messy. I digress. For me,
on the rant there.
I'm sorry, I had to. What I love the 2012 iteration for, me personally, I really value character. right? It's not like I need something super in-depth, something super innovative, something super profound to make me cheer and clap my hands, right? Especially when it comes to tMNT. All I'm asking for when it comes to tMNT is cool action, fun characters, and that's the extent of it. I don't ask a lot when it comes to tMNT. And that's not to say that it's like a junk food franchise for me. I think that the franchise is very in-depth. It has really rich lore, great character work, but at the end of the day, tMNT is a fun franchise, right? You would agree.
Of course, obviously.
Yeah, so I don't feel it's a crime for there to be a take on the tMNT where the characters are maybe one note, but super fun. You know, like that's what 87 is all about, you know? That's what that series is all about for the most part. And while I do think 03 Shredder kind of falls in that category, he's kind of a one-note, Saturday morning, evil for the sake of being evil villain. I don't think that he deserves any points taken away from him because of that. He's just serving a completely different purpose than the 2012 Shredder. That being said, I do prefer the 2012 Shredder because I didn't ask to have an in-depth character, but they gave me one anyway. I think the complexities that come with that are something that brought a level of gravitas, if you will, to the world of tMNT that I wasn't expecting. Never did I think I would be sitting down and contemplating where I'm trying to put myself in Shredder's shoes and evaluate how I would react if I was in that same situation that he was, given everything with Tang Shen and Hamato Yoshi. So when it comes to you, do you find any intrigue in 2012's iteration going out of their way to try to humanize Shredder, make him a bit more relatable despite his reactions to the reality being a bit out there and far-fetched and criminal? How do you feel about that? Do you think that it was a cool addition and it does a lot for you? Or do you feel like it was a cool addition, but it wasn't necessarily anything that spoke to you?
Me, honestly, it spoke more to me because again, going back to the old iterations for the 80s, he was more comical. 2003 was more serious.
Right.
So for 2012, they blended both the comedy and seriousness of the character, which I found honestly a lot more enjoyable than the other two. Even though, again, biased in 2003, but personally, 2012 Shredder feels like a complete version of the character.
As Hannah Montana would say, brings the best of both worlds.
Never seen it.
Oh yeah, I forgot you're like 8 years old.
I hate you.
How do you feel about 2012's take on the Splinter, Hamato Yoshi, Orokusaki Shredder lore? I know some people love that revenge aspect that comes from Splinter being a rat initially and going after Shredder for what he did. Or do you feel like that brotherly bond that's innate by making Hamato Yoshi Splinter, do you find that more enjoyable, or are you more of a fan of the original dynamic? I truly feel that new edition, or not even really a new edition of making Yoshi Splinter, because that was in the 87 series, but that brotherly bond and that fallout made for a way more heartbreaking story. So where do you land on it? Which do you prefer? What are you thinking?
I'm actually in the gray area because, again, on one side, a brotherly bond, but at the same time, him being a rat and watching his only family/parent die in front of his eyes. So, of course, it's going to do something with that bond that he had with that person that this person took from him. So, honestly, both sides are really great. Because either way, it's still a bonding that's being broken. Whether a human or a rat, he's still losing something out of it.
Here's a point, and this is one I am definitely divided on. Not from a place of wondering whether or not 2012 Shredder exceeds in this area, because I think he does. But in terms of like it being my favorite, I can't choose because there are so many other good things in this category that competes with it. But character design.
I was hoping to avoid biasism, but at the same time, I'm being genuine too. When it comes to designs, again, it's a good design because again, it's a blend of that it's a ninja that wears armor.
Yeah, it's like
a Shredder would do.
It's like a modernized 87 suit almost.
Yeah, it's like a modified version of that. Although it takes also some cues from 2003 where his voice is a lot more deeper and a lot more, not like cynical, but a lot more like cold and chilling, like how 2003 had his voice. When every time you see the Shredder, every time you like see him in season 1 of 2003, you feel terrified because like, oh god, this character and his voice, and you see how he looks too.
Yeah. Terrifying.
Especially him walking through the fire, man, with that voice too. That makes it even worse.
Yeah, that's very true.
So design, it's pretty good, but I don't think any TMT design for Shredder will ever compete with 2003's design of Shredder.
Which I can't even necessarily fight you on, because '03 has a beautiful design for the armor alone. I will say the added element of the storytelling and the character design for Orokusaki in 2012 is a great addition though, like his face being burned and the scars. I feel like it adds a lot of backstory to his character that's not necessarily verbally told, but just visually shown through the storytelling of how Saki underneath the mask is designed. I do feel though, you kind of mentioned it during the character design portion. For the voice, I have to give it to Kevin Michael Richardson. I have to give it to Kevin Michael Richardson. He voiced his tail feather off in 2012. Oh my God, dude. Can you imagine like some of the most iconic quotes of '03 being delivered by Kevin Michael Richardson?
I could think of one.
Which one?
Like the phoenix, I have risen from the ashes, and with that, you shall fall.
Now take that line and give it to 2012 Shredder. Chills.
It does feel chills.
Oh
man.
my God. I also love like the brief moments he would speak in Japanese. What's some favorite quotes from 2012 Shredder? Do you have like a few that really stuck with you?
I'm trying to remember one. I think it was, okay, I know one. Your skills are impressive, but they will not save you. Dude, as a kid, that line gave me goosebumps and chills. I'm like, okay, so that's Shredder when he's landing. Like, okay, I'm like, too bad, not too bad. And I'm seeing him fight. I'm like, oh God, I'm scared. I'm getting goosebumps. I'm actually getting hurt in this fight.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Especially when he kicked rap into like the fourth wall.
Yes.
Like,
oh my God.
They just hear the music and with the fight too. It's like it feels so somber too.
Yeah, no, for sure. Speaking of fighting, you're giving me a lot of good segues here. Can we agree? Aside from Rise, because of course Rise can battle like these shows. Aside from Rise, 2012 Shredder.
Let's keep it fair and grounded here.
2012 Shredder has like some of the most dope Turtles Shredder combat scenes ever.
He really does. The only other scene I could think of that can compete with him is the season 2 when Turtles fought Shredder again. Wow, it showed how the Turtles like grew against fighting him.
Yeah. From the first time they fought in the gauntlet on the roof, Wolf Hotels, like, oh my God. That whole episode was pretty like standard fun season 1 tMNT 2012 for the most part, but that was the first time I think we really felt the tonal shift that the show was going for later. They were all bruised and the color palette got really dark and muddy and everything. It was sick.
It was a lot more impactful.
For sure.
Speaking about that fight, I have one kind of nitpick, and maybe it's just me.
What is it?
But there's one nitpick during that fight scene in 2003. Shredder was kind of a coward. Like
in 03?
Yeah, where it was like them. I'll jump in whenever I feel like it.
That's so true. Oh my God.
And then you see 2012 it's like duking out. Heck, I'm pretty sure wasn't there like one episode when he fought all 8 mutants by himself and one shot pretty much all of them.
In 2012?
Yeah. Well, wasn't there an episode when he fought the Turtles and the Mighty Mutant Animals as well?
By himself, yeah.
By himself without any of the Foot Clan. Then you see 2003 Shredder, it was like, Foot Ninja, get him! Elite, get him! Hun, get him! Cry! Anyone to get them!
He's like, I'm just gonna hang back and eat some popcorn.
It's like, fine, I'll do it myself. I can't do it myself.
And again, this isn't 03 slander. I love 03 Shredder. 03 Shredder is his favorite. But we call a spade here. We call a spade a spade. When we see something a little whack, we'll call him out for it.
Dude, every time he loses, man, I'm getting flashbacks of the 80s Shredder, man. That's how bad it is. It's like, okay, so it's trying to show you your 80s Shredder side. I don't like that. You need to fix that now.
Right.
It's ironic, too, that he's losing like the 87 because the whole point of 2003 was to leave the 87 behind, like to leave the past behind him.
True.
But yet but still during the fight scene, you can still see that he's still influenced by the 80s Shredder by him losing a lot. showing that incompetent side. Especially when Baxter took him down. Like, come on, man.
That's the thing. That came up a lot for me too. It was like, oh, he'd cut down Baxter Stockman to nothing when Baxter couldn't fight back. But the moment Baxter could fight back, Shredder turned into a coward.
He just folded. Like, I'm like cool design, but man, season 2 done my boy wrong, man. Yeah. Like, it feels like the 87 just like took over his DNA for a moment there.
I see a lot of people talking about how imposing of a force 2003 Shredder is because he follows through on his threats, because he beats around his henchmen, and 2012 is weak because all he ever does is threaten people and never follows through on it. I like to make the argument that 2012 Shredder not following through on his threats actually makes makes him the stronger Shredder. How do you feel about that?
I was gonna do a thing where it's like, but why? 'Cause I can remember me and you talking about before something like, but why? But if he doesn't make good on his threat, then obviously he's being a coward, not doing what he says he's gonna do, isn't it?
Well, here's the thing. I think that 03 Shredder actually following through on his threats makes him more cowardly. And if you think about it, if you really look at who it is they're threatening, who it is they're yelling at, that's what makes all the difference in this argument here. Every time both Shredders threaten someone, it's someone way beneath his skill level that has no shot at beating him. 03 Shredder picks on the little guy. He picks on Baxter. He picks on everybody that works under him and actually hurts them to the point of them almost dying, being near death. And people are like, oh my god, he's so sick for that. That's epic. But the moment the little guy gets a little bit of a buff, then he cowards out. He only can pick on people he knows can't fight back. 2012 Shredder, he has people beneath him that he knows aren't on his skill level. He'll threaten them, and that's way more than enough for them to be terrified. He doesn't have to follow through on it because he's like, why do I have to waste my breath on you? I know you're not going to beat me. I could save all of my energy fighting Splinter. All I'm going to use is my words, and you better act right. Think about it.
And it's not Shredder's fault, but there's an inconsistent when it comes to him fighting the Turtles that I've noticed. Well,
what's that?
That I've always noticed. Because in 2003, you see them gradually grow from like fighting each other for the first time where they're losing, but the more they fight him, the more better that they get at beating him. But for 2012, I feel like no matter what they do, he'll just keep outbeating them, even when they should know how he fights already. So you think that I don't know how to fight Shredder, but every time they deal with him, it's like season 1 all over again.
Yeah, because like Shredder is a master of the martial arts. I don't think the Turtles should ever be on the same level as him, which is why I appreciate 2012 so much for nerfing the Turtles as much as they did, because they're ninjas in training. Like, they shouldn't be gods amongst men being able to beat Shredder every single time they come across him, you know? If he can stand toe-to-toe against Splinter like that, there's no way the Turtles should be able to beat him with ease. That's how I feel about it. Not to say they can't beat him, but they shouldn't be able to beat him with ease. You know what I mean? So that's why I appreciate 2012 so much. Because I know 2012 gets a lot of heat, like, oh, they didn't progress in their training much. It's like, no, they're just fighting super extremely talented masters that no matter how much they improve, they should never look like they're on the same level as him at age 15. Like, come on. Jesus. That would completely, like, that would make Shredder and Splinter by comparison look way more incompetent, in my opinion.
Really now?
Yeah, at that point, it's like, well, dang, if 15-year-olds were able to learn what these masters learned in like 50 plus years, did the masters really master anything if it took them that long to get to a point it took the Turtles less than a year to learn?
That reminds me too, where you called out the whole the Turtles beating, for those who haven't seen 2003 spoilers, but when they beat Sherelle.
Yeah, thank you. I almost forgot to bring up this point. I hate I'm doing it so late in the video. One point we have to talk about.
And even I can't defend this one.
03.
As I know it's bad, y'all.
Yeah, 03 Shredder. You guys hyped this dude up for being the most powerful Shredder ever. Been around for thousands of years. Was there literally for the creation of Japan itself, meaning he was present for the formation and possibly had a role in creating several martial art forms. Therefore, it probably had a hand in creating it. Keep that in mind. He had thousands of years to not only master it, but as I said, probably helped create these art forms, these martial art forms. Thousands of years. All that training, all that planning. Yet somehow, 4 turtles, 15 years compared to thousands, learn a martial art partially that he was there for the inception of and beats him with his own sword. The sword he used to conquer all of Japan. A 15-year-old from the sewer that learned from a rat who learned by watching a mere human being.
Who was probably trained by the same people that Sherelle probably helped teach.
Trash. I'm sorry. That's an L.
The sword of Tengu. It is mine once more. Oh, man. It'd be like the biggest downfall, because like you would think that by that point, Shredder would be literally the strongest thing in the whole entire planet. I'm like, okay, then if he had the most training for thousands of years and he helped create it, then you would think that he's the strongest fighter in the whole entire planet then.
Exactly. And look, that's a point I wanted to touch on briefly. I'm probably going to make a whole dedicated video to that topic alone, but yeah, I guess we'll do one more 2012 point here and we'll round it out.
His actual care for Karai that he's
Yes, that's a good point. That's another thing I wanted to mention was, how do you feel about 2012 Shredder's relationship with his Karai compared to the other iterations?
Honestly, it's kind of touching, sad, and kind of disgusting at the same time. Not disgusting as like ill, but more like, oh. Because it's like so the disgusting part because he stole another man's child, so that's the disgusting part. But then it's like, but after he raised her, he felt more of a connection with the girl that he stole, treated her like his very own daughter that he's always wanted, which then he feels upset because once she found out that that's when it's her real father, she wants to basically get rid of Shredder because he killed the mother, and so he feels hurt by that because he never wanted to kill her. He was going for Splinter, but he accidentally did it by accident. But Cry doesn't believe him, so she's trying to kill him out of anger. While for Shredder, he doesn't really want to hurt her. He just wants her to understand what he was doing.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that whole weird thing. And it's like, even though Shredder's a villain, but that kind of touched in some places where I'm like, oh, it feels so sad. And he's a villain. Why do I feel sad for a villain?
Exactly. I think it's like those complex layers and those complicated layers that makes 2012 Shredder so unique and compelling. Because yeah, it's a weird spot. You know he doesn't deserve any of this happiness, but at a human level, it's hard like not to at least understand in some twisted dark fantasy that he thinks he should be understood. It's crazy. I love the character work with 2012 Shredder. Well, thank you for joining me, buddy.
No problem, buddy.
Once again, big thanks to SM for joining me on this video. Make sure you go and show him some support. In fact, he actually slid through to talk about 2012 Shredder on his birthday. He's getting old, so make sure to tell the old man happy birthday. And if you're new here, make sure to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell right next to it. Share this video around with anyone you think may be interested. A comment down below definitely would not hurt. Make sure to check out the podcast right here on YouTube. We're also streaming on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and Google Podcasts. And make sure to check out all the other Geekily channels for all things geeky, good, and nostalgic. Keep it locked here for more videos. Also got some YouTube shorts being posted left and right, so make sure you're showing love to those so you're kept up to date with me and everything going on in my crazy head. And as always, I've been Geekily, you've been awesome, and I will catch you guys at the next video. Cowabunga, dudes! Or Booyakasha? I don't know which one's more appropriate for a 2012 video. LOL. Booyakabunga, dudes! Hee hee.